As humans, we love variety. Let's take Crayola crayons, for example. We went from a simple box of 8 to a box of 64 crayons. Okay, how many of us never got that big box of crayons? I am still mad at my parents for that. What about pets? I am a dog lover, and I can still never decide which one is the cutest. Floppy ears or pointy ears? Smooth fur or fluffy fur? I do think we can all agree that furless dogs are pretty special. We not only accept variety, many of us thrive on it. Except when it comes to humans. We have yet to accept that humans also come in a wide variety. In fact, each attribute of a human comes in a wide variety, whether that attribute is height, short, tall, or a million heights in between, or hair, density, pattern, type, or eyes, ears, nose. Choose a feature, and I'll show you a wide variety of that feature. However, one feature of humans has been given very special consideration. In America, this feature has been used to justify the killing and marginalization of millions of people across a span of over 400 years. That feature is skin color. Yes, skin, the organ. As mammals, we have skin, not fur. So those furless dogs are like, don't judge me because you have a lot of skin going on there. But skin, let's talk about skin. The color of our skin is derived from our ancestors. The closer our ancestors were to the equator, the darker the skin. The further from the equator, the lighter the skin. So yes, as humans, as mammals, we have adapted to our environments. So exactly when and why did this skin, this organ, become so relevant and significant that we actually used it to categorize and assign value to people? Well, I began asking myself questions about race when I began leading an organization whose mission is to eliminate racism. So of course I want to be successful at my job, so I asked, okay, how are we actually going to eliminate racism? So I began studying and researching the genesis of race. And according to the American Anthropological Association and its Race Project, race is a concept that has its genesis in European exploration as they encountered people throughout Africa, Asia, and the Americas that looked, spoke, and acted differently than them. Then, scientists further supported this classification of differences. For example, we saw German scientist Johann Friedrich Blumenbach in the 18th century define 5 natural varieties: black, brown, red, yellow, and white. He's not talking about crayons, he's talking about people. So there you have it. Some random people decided that we needed to use skin color to categorize people. That categorization ultimately became the construct of race. And this has had significant impact on our society and the well-being of millions, if not billions, of people throughout history. Now, as we sit here in 2021, I have to ask, is this what we want to continue? Do we still need race to categorize us? Did we ever really need it? Well, I'm an accountant, a CPA by background, and I cannot stop thinking about the financial impact of racism. A recent Citibank study showed that if key racial gaps across education, wages, housing, and investment were closed 20 years ago, we could have added $16 trillion to the US economy. And if these gaps were closed today, we could add $5 trillion over the next 5 years to the US GDP. So you have to think, if you could add $16 trillion over the last 20 years, what could you add over the last 400 years? For example, after the Civil War in 1865, Congress established the Freedmen's Bank for the newly freed Black Americans. From 1865 to 1874, the bank's president, Henry Cook, a white man, mismanaged the funds of over 70,000 Black Americans who had deposited $1.3 billion in today's dollars. Because of the failure of Freedmen's Bank, there has been a generational distrust of financial institutions. It's also part of the reason that we see nearly half of Black households are unbanked or underbanked compared to 20% of white households that are unbanked or underbanked. I have to ask you, since we have seen the destruction that race has caused, and by the way, that's just one example, we know the destruction that race and racism has caused throughout history. Are we willing to continue this in our society? Now I know some people may get upset with me because we know that race and racism is so deeply woven into the fabric of our society. People will ask, what about our identities? What about our culture? Well, culture evolves. Are we willing to see what's possible with society when we allow our culture to evolve and become a culture that doesn't need race? Besides, it's going to become irrelevant. DNA testing companies already know the truth. They see through their data that people who are racially categorized or identify as Black have large percentages of European ancestry. And people who are racially categorized or identify as white have large percentages of African ancestry. In fact, these two girls are twins. Same Black mama, same white daddy. However, because of their skin color, society will treat them and value them completely differently. But what happens if we stopped using race? Well, I can imagine a world where the color of a person's skin adds to the richness of their point of view and contribution to society. For example, because I have darker skin, you can tell that my ancestors came from Africa, which means we're closer to the equator, which means my hair is thicker to protect my scalp from the sun. Well, in America, there has been a Black hair product renaissance as women of African descent, Black women, have fully embraced all of their natural hair and exploring all kinds of styles based on their hair types. In fact, the hair product industry has been seeing tremendous growth. Nielsen data showed that Black Americans spend over $470 million a year on their hair care, and another $465 million a year on skin care. So can you imagine what is possible when you cater to, understand, and support the variety of our differences? Pantone, a color development company, actually identified 110 skin tones by scientifically testing a wide spectrum of skin types. And because of this, we can now specifically identify what our skin color is. So I have to tell you, Mr. Blumenbach, your categories would have me identify as Black, but based on Pantone's skin tone guide, I'm actually more 5Y07SP. I know some people are going to get upset with me and believe that by eliminating race, that I'm denying my heritage. I am fully aware of my heritage, and I love every single bit of it. But I am no longer willing to accept one factor of my identity that actually causes division and harm. So I can imagine a world without racism. I can imagine a world where people are proactively choosing to value the color of our skin and not use it for further division and harm. I see a world where people's skin color is part of their identity and individuality and adds to their beauty and their uniqueness. And then we can actually choose to change, not because we have to, because we will have to change one day, but because we want to. And we can choose to see the possibilities of humanity and all the beautiful people within it as lovable human beings with unique features, identities, and a variety of beautiful skin tones. Thank you.